and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, BusinessDay now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new BusinessDay website today and experience the future of news. For 25 years, BusinessDay has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new...
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
And we're back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Business Week, as you know, on BusinessDay Television. Gentlemen, so before we took that short break, we talked about inflation and our expectations for that ahead of the official release this morning. We're going to pivot away from that quickly now to talk about the real elephant in the room. The dust has still not settled on the crisis facing Geregu Power PLC. I mean, it's a real big one. I know last week we talked about the same topic as well, but since then a lot more has happened. I mean, even Augusto and Co has since withdrawn their ratings for Gary Power, but it's still raising a lot of dust in the market. People are asking questions about, oh, there was some money that was supposed, over 30 billion naira, that was supposed to be in an escrow account. It was nowhere to be found. There was a lawyer that made an appearance on Arise TV that seemed like he was on the side of Gary Power and the new ownership, and then it was almost insinuating that the former ownership, the former leaders or management of the company actually managed the funds and then, took the funds out because the new management did not find any money in the account, which is, pretty ridiculous, because it then questions whether there was enough due diligence that was done and all of that. But you know that the bond market, typically the bond market is the largest in the world, right? It's larger than the equities market, and a lot relies on the bond market, especially in terms of how the kind of signal that a country sends to its economy. So all of this that's going on is really worrying, because if people don't have confidence in your bond market, you're as well as done. You're finished. So, Deepa, you want to give us some updates on what has happened in the course of the week with Gary Power? Are we any closer to getting some sort of clarity around what really went wrong and why they missed that coupon payment of about 6 billion naira?
Yeah. So, thanks. Just like you said, a lot of things have changed from last week when we discussed the development here and then today. So what has changed? So what we did at BusinessDay and today, our lead story today, we looked at how the journey started. We did what transpired before the default. And what you noticed is July 2022, the previous management of the board took the bond. Now, what was the purpose of the bond? The purpose of the bond was to buy a power plant from PPE. That was the sole. So they took that bond not as a working capital, but for a targeted purpose
acquisition
of acquiring. Now, fast forward to August 2023, they made a $4 million application to BPE, right? And then BPE did not approve.
So it didn't go through. Yeah.
Now,
they still had the money, the funds they had raised from the bond.
So what did they do? According to this Farouk Ahmed, who claimed he's a lawyer and who is on the side of claimed he's a party to this conversation, he claimed the money was set aside in an escrow account, yielding interest. Because again, you've collected the money, so yielding interest, and then the aim was, as the development is unfolding, keep using the interest on the bond to be servicing the debt obligation on the bond throughout the lifetime of the bond. Right? Now, when the new management came on board, they did their due diligence and they asked, where is this money that was raised from bond to acquire certain assets? And they said, yes, that money existed in
the escrow account.
They did their due diligence, they found out that the money was truly there, which was why they went ahead to pay themselves dividend, because they felt everything was looking good. When it's time to withdraw money from that account to meet their debt obligation, they discovered that the money was no longer there. Right? The previous management had withdrew the money and there was no money. And so the next question was, when they discovered there was no money, did they raise alarm, or did they just kept quiet and swept it under the carpet and then trying to manage it? Yeah, they said yes, they did raise alarm. Then the regulators were aware of the fact that money was kept in a certain account. They went there, then the money was no longer there.
But people who are the custodians of that escrow account, when you raise a bond, this is not like walking into a bank to say I want to get a loan and then you were supposed to use it to get something, and then along the line your plans change and then something else, you just use the money for something. No. When you're raising a bond, part of what you state clearly, your bond prospectus is use of proceeds, what you plan to use it for, and you better not deviate from that. If this money was taken to make an acquisition which failed, and then it was put in an escrow amount yielding interest, and that interest was supposed to pay up for then where is the money? And don't forget that the new ownership made the
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Business Week. This is Business Day TV. And as you know, Business Week is a weekly Monday program brought to you every Monday at 9 a.m. Where we review topical business news. And today in the studio, I'm joined by two gentlemen. To To my extreme right over there, I've got Dipo Oladende, who's our assistant editor and energy desk editor. And then I've got Wasiu Ali, who's our deputy online editor. You're welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good to be here once again.
Great. Before we go into our topics of discussion this morning, first a few headlines. Governor Ademola Adeleke reaffirms support for Tinubu's re-election after winning the governorship election in Osun State. BRICS moves linking instant payments, digital currencies across member states. Donald Trump ends temporary protection for 4 African countries' nationals in the US, Somalia, Sudan, Cameroon, and Ethiopia. And finally, Iran offers $30,000 bounty for capturing US soldiers as dispute remains. And now straight into topics for discussion today. I think it will be right to start with what happened over the weekend on Saturday, the Osun State election that led to the victory. I won't say landslide because the margin was just 6%, but the victory of Governor Ademola Jackson Adeleke. What did you make of that election, Dipo?
Yeah, thank you very much. My view is the voter turnout was a bit impressive. I mean, we saw the population turnout of about 44%, close to 45%. Yeah. For Nigerian standard, I mean, for other countries that might be poor, but for Nigeria, where we normally use over around 22, 23, 30, that's quite impressive. So a lot of people turned out to vote. The turnout was quite impressive. And the fact that there were pockets of violence in some communities, but I'm not sure we recorded any death incidents, right? So again, there were conversations around vote buying, both from the ruling party and then the opposition as well. And then if you look at all the candidates, the Accord Party, the APC candidates, and then the ADC was widely supported by Aregbesola as well. I think the opposition gave, when I say the opposition now, I'm talking about the APC and then the ADC, they gave the Accord Party a run for their money. It was very competitive. Yeah. You talked about the margins. I don't think just about. So what we don't know now is, will the opposition be challenging the developments at the court of election tribunal? That's one. And then the second thing is, now that there is the Adeleke had won again, what does this mean for states? In this first 4 years, it was payment of salary was not a problem. He boasted about building quality infrastructure during his the TV program, where a live debate where he was talking about his plans. And then for what people will be expecting going for the next term would be, again, infrastructure about roads, the roads that connect Osun to its neighboring states, and the economic viability of that road. Just this morning I was discussing with colleagues at the office about how the state is mostly a civil servant state. The government is the biggest employer of labor. There is no quality private sector. You look at Osun in terms of attracting FDI, it's still relatively locked in. So again, he has his hands full in terms of meeting the demands, bringing the demands of democracy. Yeah,
but I was going to come to that. But maybe I should give Wasiu a chance now to chip in. What does the entry of Governor Adeleke look like now that he's won the election? What does he have to do? Like Dipo rightly said, Osun State is still pretty much dependent on government. Yeah. Government is the single largest contributor to economic growth in Osun State, whether you're talking about jobs and all of that. But you need the state to come to that point where private capital also plays a starring role. So what does his entry look like? What do you think Governor Adeleke should work on now that he has gotten his second term?
Yeah, I think he has laid the foundation, because there's a couple of discussions around infrastructure. Yeah, and I mean that's the first point. If you have quality infrastructure, it opens door for investments. Osun is known for tourism, And I think that's one low-hanging fruit that the government has not really, focused on, utilized. So if they can invest more on that and standardize those tourist centers, then you can bring in dollars from foreigners that will come in, and then with the infrastructure in place, then you can open door for more investment, especially in areas of tourism. And I think power is also a thing now that states can now generate their own power. I learned that Osogbo, the capital of Osun, has stable power. But I think if the government can, step up efforts in that regard, then you have private, capital, private businesses, opening up. If a state is, if the largest employer of labor in a state is the government itself, then that signals that there's a lag in terms of productivity. There'll be a lag in terms of productivity, and then the largest, the wage bills of the government will be. That's not really a good one for them. But I think if you could look into tourism thoroughly, I think it's going to play a major role.
Absolutely. And I like the point you've made about tourism. States should focus on areas where they have comparative advantage. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everything to everyone. But once you find something that that you can truly utilize, that would help you develop your state, the fortunes of your state, then why not? So tourism, that makes a lot of sense. But finally, we've seen 2 off-cycle elections now, Osun State, and of course we've seen was it Ekiti before now?
I think there was election in Ekiti.
So I know these are early days. Those 2 off-cycle elections that we've seen, but are there any permutations that we can make, any inferences we can draw from these 2 off-cycle elections in terms of predicting what might happen at the presidential election? I know APC won in Ekiti State, but lost in Osun State, even though Governor Adeleke has given his allegiance to the president, right? And is really backing him. But is there any? What is it? What's you want to try or deeper?
I think it's a fresh blow to the ruling party APC now, because having Osun would have been a clear cut in the
they don't have Osun. Even if I know they don't have Osun.
In the real terms of
the real sense of it, they don't. But the governor there, is
swinging allegiance to the president, which means that
he mobilizes his people to turn up for APC at the presidential election.
But
that would be strange if Accord were to produce a presidential candidate as well.
If Accord would produce a presidential candidate, he probably wouldn't. I wouldn't say wouldn't go anywhere, but wouldn't pull that much crowd. But that's even off the table, because that window is already closed. But what it really indicates is that democracy is still thriving in the country, despite the fact that violence was high rate of violence was recorded in the election. And for 2027, like you mentioned, it's really not looking like it's going to be a big contest, because the governor is already dining with the president, and of course that means that there's really no opposition in that state. So, but it's a clear indication that democracy is still there, and of course votes really would count. And of course, if voters can come out in mass and monitor their vote as we saw in Osun, then of course we should be assured that there was going to be a credible, free and fair election.
Good. Deepo?
Yeah, so my view is 2 things. First of all, the IREV discussion, right? So for the first time, we saw real-time uploading of election results. So a lot of people would expect this same pattern to continue at the general election, because if election results are uploaded in real time, then everybody can monitor everything. You can track everything going on at the same time. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, in my view, I think what this off-cycle election have showed us is the fact that votes will likely be, it won't be tilting towards one candidate, because let's not forget that in the Southwest we have First of all, there is a governor in Oyo State who is a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
Right. There is also Peter Obi as well, although he's not from the southwest, but then he's from the southern part of the country. So what that shows is the fact that all the votes will not be going overwhelmingly to Tinubu. Some of them will be spilled to Isheyi Makinde in the picture. Some will be spilled to Peter Obi in the picture as well. So what this means is for Tinubu to get overwhelming victory, he needs more than the southwest, right? He needs to build his tentacles along the northern corridor as well, and then he also needs to start forming alliance with, maybe have a meeting with Isheyi Makinde, for instance, because that Isheyi Makinde will definitely be spilling vote, because some people in Osun State will definitely be voting for him.
Yeah.
Some people in Ekiti State, another Oseku State, will definitely be voting for him. And then again, Peter Obi is also still a favorite in all of these states as well. So, in my view, the southwestern states would definitely be splitting some. The candidates will be sharing the votes among themselves.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Yes, I mean, as you rightly pointed out, I think that there'll be stiff competition going into that 2027 election. But I think what we saw on Saturday with the Osun election, I think is it's good. There'd been a trend in Osun State where voter turnout had been declining every single year since 2002. So I think, or 2003. So I think that that you had a break in that trend this time around. People really did come out, even though you had, there were threats in the air. People were worried how the elections would go through because of. I mean, you had someone who even came out to say that some people should be killed and all of that. So it was really threatening, but people still turned out in mass, and democracy won.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to our second topic. Inflation numbers due today.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about it. Wasi wasn't here, but we talked about our expectations that we more or less were tilting towards expecting a decline, which would mark the third straight month of decline in inflation. I think for July, which we already have, June now that we have already, because it's July that will be released this morning. It was 15.68%, right? 15.91%.
Yeah.
And I know that we put out a story last week that was like a robust analysis that was done, predictive analysis by the team. I showed that the expectation for inflation for July will be 15.51%. What are you guys expecting ahead of the official release this morning?
Okay, I should go first. All right. So, I mean, in line with our forecasts, and we expect the prices to taper. We expect prices to continue downward trend, and as you've rightly said, that will be the third consecutive month of decline. So, I mean, what are the major drivers? Number one is the base effects, and then of course we've seen a softer pricing in energy. Though I mean it has been up volatile, and down, volatile, but of course it's moderating compared to the months earlier. So that would play a major role, and then of course energy prices going down, then food prices will also go down because they work hand in hand, because logistics and all of that. So we see inflation tilting towards downward trend, but that does not mean that prices are going to fall anyway. But
you see that generally,
it just means that there's going to be some sort of relief for households and
good.
So that's just pretty much it. Expecting.
One interesting thing happened last week. I mean, we reported and did some very good analysis on it about the Central Bank of Nigeria opening up the open market operations market to retail investors again after banning them, 7 years ago. And the way that all of the people that we spoke to, and even our in-house analysts, the way they interpreted that move was to say that the central bank is really worried about inflationary pressure that would be triggered by election spending, and they're thinking, let's find a way to mop up even more liquidity, because when you do that, then you're mopping up even more liquidity, because the retail investors that were before now unable to participate in the OMO market can now participate. And don't forget, that the return on the yields on OMO bills, on a 1-year OMO bill, is typically higher than the return on a 1-year treasury bill. So you find a lot of money rotating there.
So that's, I mean, I think it's a very brilliant move by the CBN, because again, as we move closer to election seasons, right, there's every likelihood that, look, election spending, if you look at historical patterns in Nigeria's pre-election years, we've always discovered that election spending has always been a major driver for Nigeria's inflationary pressure, right? And now we're moving towards that. So it's a good thinking from the CBN to be proactive. Now, what effect will this have a big effect of slowing down the pace of inflation in this season? I mean, time will tell, the numbers will tell. So again, like my colleague here said, the likelihood of inflation lowering today is very high. But then again, for most Nigerians, their biggest concern is food prices, really. A lot of Nigerians want to see the price of egg, the price of milk, the price of basic household item. They want to see a slight drop, even a significant drop in the prices of these things.
Absolutely.
And so that's what matters to our readers. That's what matters to everyone on the streets. But then again, our view is, if inflation numbers can moderate at a certain range, I think prices can also be stable. And if prices are stable, people can plan. People can do a long-term planning for their household budgets and what they would likely spend between now and December period. But my view is, election is here again, and we should all just watch out for a clash between excess money, politicians coming out to spend, and then this new development by the CBN to open retail spending.
You know, that's one area where I don't think we appreciate it. I mean, one of the reasons why you have a disconnect between the macro gains that we're seeing as a result of the reforms and then the micro gains is because of inflation.
Of course.
True. And that's why most people, anywhere you go today, you talk about the economy is improving. They can't feel it in their pockets because of inflation. Their purchasing power is more battered because those reforms, what it did essentially was to absolutely decimate the purchasing power of the average Nigerian. So I think all hands really need to be on deck to ensure that we address this inflation crisis that we have on our hands. I mean, yes, we can say that inflation has declined. If you look at it relatively compared to 2 years ago, it's been declining now, 15%. But 15% is still high. You just need to compare with other African countries, and then you see that even that is still very high. We might be coming from a very high base, but 15 is still high. And until we bring that down to within single digits, people will still struggle to see the gains of any.
I think this is where the fiscals needs to come in, right? The monetary guys they've showed up that this is what we can do. So this is where the Taiwo Oyedele's ministry, which is not just the Minister of Finance alone, but it's also the coordinating minister for the economy as well. We need to find a way to ease the pressure of, my colleague talked about energy costs, transportation, one of the biggest driver of food inflation. Food inflation, of course, the biggest driver of the overall inflation. We need to find a way of putting interventions in that value chain of moving goods from food producing states to demand states that are of high demand when it comes to food products. Why? Because it is where those are the places that I feel that when the government talks about subsidy, those are the targeted areas where you should provide that kind of subsidy. Let it be targeted towards a specific value chain so that you can get the overall impact in terms of lower food prices. Because again, if you look at food, if transport costs, for instance, is eased by at least 50%, of course it will show up in your overall market prices. And I feel the federal government, through the Ministry of Finance, can do a lot across our value chain.
I agree. You want to say something? You said your...
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say the fiscals and the monetary has to, continually
there needs to be alignment,
rub hands together.
Because the monetary policy, monetary policy is running well ahead of fiscal policy.
Just like you mentioned, the open market operation thing, it's a proactive measure to tame inflation. So, I mean, such measures have to be in place to ease pressures on the household, because obviously if you're saying GDP is up and inflation is going down and macros are looking green, everything is good, if the pocket is not feeling it, then it's all just numbers.
Absolutely.
So I think there should be a lot of effort from the fiscal side to ease this pressure. And then of course election spending is here. So if all this policies by the CBN are followed through, then I think we should also see further declines in the coming months.
Great. All right, we'll wait and see what happens when the National Bureau of Statistics releases the inflation report for July this morning. But before we trash our very final topic, I think we should take a break at this point. Viewers, we'll be right back.
People say time flies when you're enjoying yourself, and I think that's the story of Business Day. 25 years ago, Frank set out to build something Nigeria did not yet have in full measure. A newspaper that's dedicated entirely to the seriousness of business, economics, policy, and all those things that drive society. It's all the dimensions that you can imagine. And that was not a small ambition, and it meant betting that Nigeria wanted depth over noise, which I think we do, certainly business people, analysis over sensation, and credibility over convenience. A quarter of a century later, that bet has paid off many, many times over. I think it's fair to say Business Day has become required reading for boardrooms, policymakers, investors, and anyone serious about understanding where the Nigerian economy is headed at any point in time. And what strikes me most, sitting in a privileged position as a member of the editorial board, is the consistency of the paper's character. Business Day has never chased the easy headline, and we debate this. It has stayed true to its founding instinct, that is good journalism in the business and economic space, realizing that economic space must be rigorously interviewed. It must be independent and unafraid to hold power and capital accountable in equal measure without fear or favor. Now that is a difficult balance to strike in any media environment, and even a lot harder to sustain for 25 years in the Nigeria of today. So I think that consistency is in large part a reflection of Frank himself. His discipline, his insistence on standards, and his quiet but firm belief that institutions outlast individuals when they're built properly. And certainly he's built an institution. And Frank didn't simply start a newspaper. I think he's built an institution with that paper, and one that has culture and a value system that has endured leadership transitions, economic cycles, and the disruption of the entire industry by the digital media, which in itself Frank has embraced. So I think we are celebrating his anniversary. We celebrate Frank, we celebrate Business Day, and not just 25 years of publishing, but 25 years of integrity in a profession that badly needs it in this country. So I think, Frank, it's fair to say congratulations to you and your team. We're extremely proud of you. Like I said, I feel extremely privileged to be part of the editorial board with all the debates and discussions and the many MBA sessions we have where we do meet. But once again, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you're doing. Congratulations to Business Day, and we look forward to another 25 years, in resplendent pleasure of doing the right thing in society for society's benefit. Congratulations, Frank. Congratulations, Business Day.
My name is Pastor Kari Bedina, the senior pastor of Life Restoration. I first came across Business Day in the early year 2000 at Amuwodofi along Festac Link Road. I knew about Business Day through Mr. Frank Aigugu, who is the publisher. Actually, Business Day became a voice in Nigeria through the provision of reliable business and financial information across Nigeria and some African countries. This is so because Business Day was established on a solid foundation which has helped the organization to stand immovable and well-rooted till today. Like many other media companies in Nigeria, Business Day went through some challenging moments at the early stage, but in all of it, God Almighty helped Business Day to sail through and became victorious and also so strong as we see today. And as a result, we can also, rejoice and sing songs of praise to the living God. And we know this is all the glories we have to go to God for sustaining Business Day. I also remember that I used to share, the word of God with prayers together with all the members of staff of Business Days in those days. And through which I believe so strongly that this must have contributed one way or the other to the strong faith and the power of God, especially the ability of God to sustain Business Day. Until today, God Almighty has been so faithful. Praise the Lord. And my prayer today for Business Day is that God Almighty will make Business Day to move forward, grow great, and become an outstanding force to be reckoned with in Nigeria, in Africa, and even the world, at large. In Jesus' mighty name, I also pray for Mr. Frank Angugu for divine wisdom to be able to lead, all the staff, and also to make sure that the work, progresses. And I also pray for every member of staff that God Almighty is going to strengthen you, God will pour His grace upon your life, in Jesus' mighty name, and all your labor will never be in vain, in Jesus' mighty name. And I pray that God Almighty will abundantly bless every one of you that are working in Business Day today, beginning from Mr. Frank Aigugu down the line. And I pray that God Almighty will make all you've done to be highly rewarded, in Jesus' mighty name. I pray once again that God Almighty will enlarge Business Day and will make it a voice to be reckoned with in Nigeria, in Africa, and also the entire world. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Wow, 25 years Business Day. For any business, first of all, to have succeeded in Nigeria for 25 years, I bow my hat. Kudos to you. Business Day. I think when you're talking about professional journalism, you're thinking Business Day. When you're talking quality of content, you're talking Business Day. When you're talking quality of pictures, you're talking Business Day. When you're talking about editors that know their onions inside out, you're talking Business Day. When you're talking of a publisher who ensures the company has continued to go on and change throughout the season to keep revamping himself, we're talking Mr. Frank. Congratulations, Business Day, on 25 years. It couldn't have been easy, but I've seen the paper transform. People always say, why do I recommend Business Day when I'm doing stuff to them, my clients? And I say because they are professionals, they have good reporters. In working with Business Day, working with like a Depot, for example, on the oil and gas desk, I know he's a true professional. He knows his onions. He knows his sector inside out. So I'm always happy to recommend Business Day and work with them all the time. The other thing is that it's not just about the newspaper itself. It's the forums that they've created over the years. They've continued to reinvent themselves, and those forums they have, sector forums, are impacting people within the industry because it's a solid thought leadership forum that people are always wanting to go to and always wanting to learn. And the forums are even for the youth, for people, managers, for leadership, oil and gas sector, CEO forums, infrastructure. There's so many, and those forums are just really, really useful in this day and age to listen to experts talk about the different things. So kudos to you on that Business Day. Personally, I'd like to thank you for the support Business Day has given me throughout my career. Believe it or not, I have been working with Business Day for the last 25 years since they existed. So thank you for all your support whilst I was in Owando. Thank you all for your support while I was in Hill and Milton. And thank you all for your support when I started my own agency, Scott Communications. You know, I just really admire the leadership. I admire the successes you've made. I value your paper tremendously. And all I need to say is keep doing the good work. Keep exceeding expectations in everything that you do. And to your editors, to your reporters, to your journalists, keep up the good work. You guys are doing excellent work in this industry. And you know, I can't wait to see the transformation and the new things that you will come up with in the next 25 years. One thing, rest assured, we, my organization, Scott Communications, will always be there to support you. Have a brilliant 25th year anniversary.
Greetings from the FIFA World Cup in Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations to Frank and the team. A Business Day for 25 amazing years. It's been wonderful to be on the advisory board, and I look forward to a lot more service as we address the economic issues of the day in Nigeria and West Africa. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you, Business Day, on your 25th anniversary. On behalf of Forbes Mazar, I celebrate you on this remarkable milestone, and thank you for the valuable partnership that we have shared over the years. 25 years is a great feat. I mean, you've been a trusted voice in business journalism. You've been shaping conversations, and we are definitely proud of all that you have achieved, all that you have accomplished. And we're looking forward to even more shared success with you, and wishing you all the very best in the future. And cheers to Business Day.
There is an ample opportunity to congratulate Frank on what he has done using Business Day Nigeria. Business Day Nigeria has become a veritable tool for younger generation to know what happens in Nigerian business world. Remembering those days when Business Day dedicated a production for students in campuses in Nigeria. These are opportunities that made students to learn our business world, business vacancies, business publications, and especially what happens in the Nigerian stock market. Frank has done marvelously in projecting Business Day Nigeria for the younger generation to know more about businesses and opportunities in Nigerian business landscape. Congratulations as you mark anniversary. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Business Day. You're 25 years old. Well, when a publication turns 25 and represents integrity, professionalism, the way you have done, then we have no choice but to be proud to be associated with you. Business Day, to me, represents the best in print journalism. And honestly, I wish you many more years beyond 75, 125, and all of that of meritorious print journalism. Congratulations.
My name is Ade Brahim. I happen to be the Group Managing Director of Afamungam Bank. On behalf of my Chairman, Board of Director, Management, staff of Afamungam Bank, I want to congratulate the publisher, Mr. Frank Aibogu, on the 25th anniversary of Business Day. Business Day have done tremendously well, and I want to thank them for supporting Afamungam Group even from the days of the capital till today. I want to say thank you, and on behalf of all of us once again, we celebrate you and we wish you best of luck in another phase of this organization. God bless you and happy celebration. Thank you.
I want to use this opportunity to wish the Business Day family, the Business Day community, a happy birthday at your 25th anniversary. We're very happy. We're glad for what you've done. Thank you for being a wonderful phenomenon in the business space. The insights are wonderful. I want to wish you the best success in the coming years and all the things you've been doing. Don't stop there. Keep blowing up our minds. Keep doing new stuffs. And we're proud of you. We're glad to be associated with you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ademuyiwa Adebola Taufik, the CEO of Inspire Group. This is me wishing Business Day Nigeria a happy 25th anniversary, the #1 business reporting platform in Nigeria. I wish you greater years and successful years ahead. Thank you.
When I think about what Business Day has meant, not just to the business community in Nigeria, but to that in West Africa as well, and how well Business Day has told their economic story, you realize that 25 years feels like a long time, but also not such a long time. I've been reading Business Day now, pretty much from the beginning, back to when it was still a weekly. And for nearly a decade now, I've also had the privilege of sitting on the editorial advisory board of the newspaper. And it has given me a front row seat, one that enables me to see just how much care and rigor has gone into the preparation of every single edition. And what I've always admired about Business Day is the commitment to being extraordinary, to never settling for being just another paper. And at a time like this, when you set out to do certain things, Business Day has been able to do with depth, with integrity, with independence, to bring this to business journalism in a market that has badly needed these qualities. It's really a tremendous and fantastic achievement. That commitment to getting the story right, even when it makes the story so much harder to tell, is one that is rare, and it is what has earned Business Day the trust and the respect that it has in the market today. At a time like this, it would be really remiss not to mention Dick Kramer and what he brought, our first editorial advisory board chairman, what he brought to Business Day. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he brought a rigor and an integrity to sittings of the board, to the discussions of the board, to the intensity with which we sat and we had engagements that has set the tone for everything that we have done ever since, and the way in which we work on the editorial advisory board. Thankfully, that has continued under the leadership of Uncle Imo, Dr. Imo Ishweli. But Dick's fingerprints are still very much on the standard that he set, that he built, to which we still hold ourselves committed to upholding. So we must always remember him with love and with real gratitude. And then, of course, there's Frank. Frank Agbogo, whom I've known since I joined the board, maybe even before I joined the board, nearly 10 years ago. What strikes me most is his consistency. The same vision, the same tenacity, the same commitment to excellence, which he had 25 years ago, and he still has even till today. Building something that is this durable, as Business Day has now become in a media landscape that is this unstable. It takes real guts, real tenacity, real conviction, and Frank has it in spades. So much so till now. So to Frank, to the memory of Dick Kramer, to the people at Business Day who have stayed and made it what it is, I raise a toast to them all. Thank you for the vision. Thank you for carrying the vision forward. I say congratulations, and of course, here is to the next 25 years.
Business Day, 25 years of shape.
Let's now move to our second conversation this morning. The price of petroleum products remains one of the biggest issues for Nigerian consumers and businesses, from petrol and diesel to LPG. But while international crude prices fluctuate, Nigerians often question why changes in the global market do not always translate into lower prices at home. between import costs, refining, transportation, depot charges, distribution, and marketers' margin. There are several layers between the global oil market and what consumers eventually pay. There are also new developments reshaping the downstream sector, including the Dangote refinery, free delivery of petroleum products to filling stations, as well as renewed promises around the rehabilitation and return of the Warri and Port Harcourt refineries. So, what really determines the prices Nigerians pay for petroleum products? Are consumers getting a fair deal? And can a more efficient distribution system finally bring greater stability to prices? And joining us is Olatide Jeremiah, Chief Executive Officer of petroleumprice.ng, a digital platform focused on improving transparency in Nigeria's downstream oil and gas sector. Olatide, welcome to Business Morning.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here for the first time.
All right, so let's begin with pricing. That's our first focus this morning. When Nigerians see the price of petrol, diesel, or even LPG at a filling station, what exactly are they paying for? Can you break down the major components that, ultimately determine the retail price?
Okay, thank you. Now we have two layers. We have the refining costs and the landing cost. So prior to 2 years ago, before the advent of Dangote refinery, the landing cost, because of importation, determine what size pump price will be. So you would link landing cost to importation. But however, in the last 2 years, we've had Dangote dominate the downstream supply market with about 92% supply of petroleum product to Nigeria. So what really determines the price at the pump is the refining cost. So Dangote's refining cost would reflect what its gantry cost would be, and thereafter it reflects what the pump price would be. 2 weeks ago, Dangote dropped its petrol and diesel price from 1,215 to 1,165. That's for PMS. So it dropped to 1,165 for gantry price. And for every retail seller or retail trader or a station owner that buys 1,165 from Dangote refinery, he would have the loading costs. At the depot, there are several costs that makes up the loading costs. It's usually about 2 naira. So if you have 2 naira to 1,165, that is 1,167. Around Lagos, it's usually 10 naira for transport. If you are heading to the north, it's about 40 naira for transport. If you are heading to the east, it's about 40 naira for transport. But in Lagos, it's around 10 naira for transport. So if you have 10 naira, you would have 1,177 as the cost that takes it to the station. So the average retailer or average station owner would have his own profit margin, understanding that the capital used for a truck is quite enormous. You would have his margin and also the cost of fund to it. And definitely with that, we should have around 1,200 in Lagos and maybe 1,250 in far north and 1,250 in the east. So the factors that makes up the pump price is the cost of the product at the gantry, the loading cost, the cost of transportation, the margin of the retailer, and the cost of funds makes up the pump price at every retail outlet in Nigeria.
So the Dangote refinery, it introduced free delivery of petroleum product to filling stations, if I'm correct. Now, from your assessment of the market, how effective has this been in reducing distribution costs and also easing the movement of product?
Yeah, so for me, there are several barriers to this policy or to this development or initiative by Dangote Refinery. One of the major barriers is that you would need to buy a minimum of 250,000 liters. And a truck is around 50 million liters. So that means an average retailer must have 250 million naira to purchase from Dangote to be able to enjoy that free delivery. That is barrier number one, because the capital is quite enormous. A whole lot of the retailers cannot even afford a truck. What they do now is they do co-loading. We have like 3 compartments in a 33,000 liters truck or a 45,000 liters truck. So those 3 compartments, what they do now is that they co-load 3 or 4 stations, 3 stations close by, could have money together, go get those products from the refinery or from any depot, and they discharge it compartment by compartment. So you're saying that they should buy a minimum of 250,000 liters at a go to be able to benefit from the free delivery. It's a major barrier. And secondly, this is a new initiative. This is the first time we'll be having free delivery in the downstream sector. I've been around for over a decade. What has been the norm is that you pay at the depot, you rent a truck, you pay for the loading, and you take your product to your station. So this is a new initiative, and people are just getting into it. But for me, the major barrier is the quantity, the 250,000 minimum quantity you need to buy. That is about 5 trucks is a major barrier. So for me, I think those at the north, those retailers in the north and in the east would love this innovation, because the transportation from Lagos to the north is about 40 naira. So it will save them 40 naira on the cost of getting the product. But the barrier still remains the capital. That is it. Though there is also a leverage that the refinery has given to them, that if you do 250,000 liters cash, we are going to give you 250,000 liters in credit. But how many retailers or retail outlet owners can afford to buy a product worth 250 million naira, except those that have quite a large number of stations, between 10 stations upward, could be able to afford that. But currently, a whole lot of retailers might not be able to afford that because of the quantity barrier attached to it.
All right. The president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has repeatedly expressed confidence that the Warri and Port Harcourt refinery will return to operation. Now, based on what you see in the sector, do you share that optimism? And even if they resume production, how much difference do you think they could realistically make to, Nigeria's petroleum supply and also the prices?
Okay, now we have 4 refineries, 2 old and new refineries in Port Harcourt, 1 refinery in Kaduna and 1 in Warri. That gives us a 445,000 liters barrels per day. If you equate that to liters, it gives us about 70 million liters if those 4 refineries are functional. But the problem we have is that the last refinery, that is the Kaduna refinery that came up sometimes around the 70s, is around 40 years old. Those equipments are dilapidated. It's going to take the grace of God for those refineries to come back to stream. Looking at the fact that NNPCL still retains 50% share in that refinery. I'm of the opinion that that refinery should be completely privatized. If you look at the top 10 biggest and most efficient refineries in the world, which Dangote had to be the seventh biggest and most efficient refineries in the world, 8 out of 10 of them are managed and owned by private individuals. Governments do not have any business in refinery, in refining of petroleum product anywhere in the world. So for me, those refineries are old, they are aged, they are dilapidated. They need to completely privatize those refineries. And I can tell you for free that if that is done, those refineries will be up and running, because as a private individual, you have quite a whole lot at stake. You have capital that you've injected in it. It's definitely going to run. But with the 50% share from the NNPCL and the 50% share from the Chinese company, trying to see how those refineries will come up, for me, the chances are 50-50. In the past, several presidents have came up to say, oh, our refineries would come up, and we've not seen anything good come out of it. So for me, I want to be hopeful as a patriotic Nigeria, but at the same time, the chances for me, personally, that's my opinion, it's a 50-50, except those refineries are completely privatized. Yes, privatized, or the privatization should be a 80-20% thing, and with that, those refineries will be up and running. But as I said earlier, I want to be patriotic, and I want to believe that with all the efforts currently ongoing, the collaboration with the Chinese company, I think something good should come out of that partnership.
So if the rehabilitated refineries now, Dangote refinery and the other private refineries are all operating at meaningful capacity, do you think Nigeria could eventually have enough refinery capacity to, significantly reduce the cost of petroleum products? Or do you think our distribution and logistics problem is still going to, hold us back?
Yeah, for me, I have said it in several fora that our two major challenges in the last 2 decades is supply and pricing. We've had issues with access to petroleum products before the advent of Dangote refinery. Severally, during festive season, we see queues because of shortfall of supply. But the Dangote refinery has solved that problem. The Dangote refinery currently has ramped up to 700,000 barrels per day. That is about 120 million liters daily. And what we consume in Nigeria is just about 70 million liters. 50 million liters to export. So for the supply glitch, that is solved. But still, we have issues with prices and the cost of refined products. Nigerians are not happy that with Dangote refinery being on stream and Nigeria being the biggest producer of crude oil with about 1.5 million barrels per day production, we still go to the pump to buy around 1,002 per liter for diesel, 1,007 per liter. So it is painful to Nigeria. And the reason is this: we need competition. We need other refineries to come on board and compete with Dangote refinery. With that, prices will drop, because competition is a strategic tool that helps stability in any market. So Dangote at the moment calls the shot, determines where the market goes when it comes to prices. But as soon as, how I wish the NNPCL refinery is up and running, that would help stabilize the market through competition. Thank God we have the Boa refinery that is currently under construction in Akwa Ibom with a 200,000 liters barrels per day. And we have other refineries that are springing up on a daily basis. So I know in the next 5 years, Nigeria is going to be a refining hub in Africa. And as soon as we now see a competition at the refining level, prices will start dropping. That is one. Two, access to crude is still a major problem for refineries, either the modular refineries or the giant refineries like the Dangote refinery and others. So if we don't prioritize our refineries when it comes to crude supply, crude feedstock to those refineries, we will keep having price challenges. So for me, we need to have a framework that enables those oil producers, those oil well owners to prioritize local refineries, to make sure that 80% of the crude that local refineries use in Nigeria are sourced in Nigeria. I think with that would also help. Secondly, our regulatory agency should also be vibrant, because if you get those crude, possibly in Naira, and they are not properly regulated, they might take advantage of the system. So firstly, we need other refineries to come on board to enhance competition. Secondly, there should be better framework. The PIA bill is explicit that refineries should be prioritized, but we really need more inputs, more efficiency of that section of the PIA bill to enable refineries access crude. And lastly, they really need to regulate them, that as much as we are giving you 80 to 90% crude, prices should be reasonable, prices should be affordable. And if that is done, I'm sure Nigerians will start benefiting. But by and large, developing countries all over the world still intervene when it comes to essential commodities. In Libya, the cost of petrol is 50 naira. In Algeria, the cost of petrol is 400 naira, simply because of government intervention. I don't want to use the word subsidy, but it's the subsidy. Government still need to subsidize. They need to collaborate with the major refineries to say, oh, what quantity of crude do you use in a monthly basis? How do we subsidize either the price or the quantity to make sure that prices do not cross this level? Because 80% of our citizens are living in abject poverty. So if all of that are put in place, Nigerians will start benefiting from the fact that we have the biggest refinery in Africa and the 7th biggest refinery in the world, and we are also the biggest producer of oil in Africa.
Right. So, looking at the entire downstream value chain, speak to us about what the single biggest change, that would make the petroleum pricing in Nigeria more transparent, more competitive, and even affordable for consumers.
Competition, basically. Competition. We really need more competition when it comes to refining segments. We have just only one major player. Dangote currently supplies about 90% of what we consume in Nigeria today, and that is not too good. He's just like the big elephant in the room, and with that, if that continues, prices will definitely not drop. But if other refineries are encouraged to come on stream, it's definitely going to help competition and prices will drop. That is one. Two, regulation. We have weak regulatory agencies in Nigeria, from the NMDPRA, yes, NMDPRA, and the FCCPC. Those are the regulatory agency that are in Nigeria. So for the NMDPRA, they need to be efficient, they need to be transparent, and they need to be up and doing. Yes, that is the only way some of the abnormal practices or the abnormal profits being made by some of the stakeholders will be eradicated. And the FCCPC needs to be up and doing. They are for consumer protection. They need to step in to see how the consumers are protected. So, and lastly, for prices, basically, I've said it, we need federal government intervention. Complete subsidy removal, for me, it is not a good one for a country where 80% of its citizens are poor. Subsidy removal is good. It was supposed to be restructured, not completely removed. The pattern by which subsidy was being used, the operation by which
All right, I think we lost our light, but we were speaking to Olatide Jeremiah, is the CEO of petroleumprice.ng. We'll go on a quick break now. When we come back, we'll be looking at Nigeria export opportunity. Can the diaspora become a major market for SMEs? Do stay with us.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news. For 25 years,
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Welcome back to the Business Morning Live Show right here on Business Day Television. I am Deborah Eze. Let's move to our topic of conversation this morning. We're examining U.S. lifting the 12-year condition of entry on Nigerian vessels. What does it mean for Nigeria's maritime trade? For 12 years, Nigerian vessels operating on international routes have faced an additional layer of scrutiny from the United States over maritime security concerns. That has now changed. The United States has removed the condition of entry imposed on Nigerian vessels, a development that could have implications for Nigeria's shipping industry, port competitiveness, and the cost of doing business. Now, beyond the diplomatic significance, the bigger question is, what does this mean for Nigeria's maritime economy, exporters, and the country's ambition to become a major hub for regional trade? To discuss this and what the developments could mean for Nigeria's maritime sector, we are joined by Musa Sunisi Ahmed. It's a principal trade media company. Good morning, Musa. It's good to have you on the Business Morning Live.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. It's nice being here with you.
Very well. Now, first, what exactly was the condition of entry imposed on Nigerian vessels, and what did it mean for operators over the past 12 years?
Okay, basically, in the last 12 years, a lot of operators have faced a second regime scrutiny from US by every other vessel or any other ship that were called to Nigerian ports, any of the Nigerian ports. In the last 5 transit that vessel made, and that resulted in some security restriction and advisory, as they usually call it, because currently there are second degree scrutiny or advisory, as they usually like to call it, for every ship or vessel that were called to Nigerian vessels. So the last 5 calls for that ship involved docking or berthing in any of the Nigerian ports. And that resulted in a lot of compliance hurdles, and likewise the cost of any shipment, because every operator like to have predictability of his shipping, and that resulted in in the last 12 years, that restriction or advisory restrictions resulted in every other shipment or any freight forwarder have to have a second plan in case his shipment were involved in any other advisory or the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard advised that there is need for further scrutiny for that ship because that ship were docked in Nigeria, and that resulted in a lot of delays, and that affected the business at a world. And the operators have faced a lot of challenges in the area of compliance and seeing how to make sure that they comply to US law. And most of shipping lines, not necessarily the indigenous shipping lines of Nigeria, which they don't usually go to US. US is not their favored destination. They usually go to Asia. But nevertheless, other international ships that involve business with Nigerian cargoes and shipments to US, they usually spend a lot in compliance.
All right. So what do you think has changed for the US, to now lift this restriction? And what does it, say about the progress Nigeria has made on maritime security?
Okay. I think what changed from the US angle is that the US now have a lot of interest in Nigeria, especially with two most important things. There are a lot of demands for rare earths or critical minerals by US, and the demand is getting rise for US to reach and make sure it meets with all the demands of such critical minerals by its market. There are a lot of expectations and planning and arrangement that they need to invest. And Nigeria as a basket in the Gulf of Guinea, there is high chance that the US have a lot of interest in deep mining, deep sea mining, and other things related to export of mineral resources from Nigeria. In the last 1 month or 2 months, we see the major shipments of monazite and other critical minerals to US as a market. And it's just a test run. And if from all the body language in the last 1 year, or let me say 8 months, roughly 8 months before the Christmas package sent by the US president, there are a lot of meetings involved the Nigeria Nuribado, the NSA, and several other senators, legislators, and political appointees in the US. And in the last 1 month, we see the pilgrimage made by the presidency and the Nigerian ministers to US, which involved the Nigeria-US security corporations, which led by the Nuribado. We see the like of Minister of Defense Christopher Musa. We see the Minister of Finance Tayo. We see several other, and even the head of our immigration, we see her there. So we see several other people involved. And in the second tier pilgrimage by other set of Nigerian delegations, led by the Minister of Solid Mineral, Dele Alake, and Minister of Trade and Industry, which is on the side of discussion around business and other stuff. So the pilgrimage by the US, the Nigerian delegations to US, and the US delegations to Nigeria in the last 8 months, it shows a lot of interest by the US. And since the restriction and banning on visa thing, you can easily spot it that US have a lot of business interest. A lot of US businessmen are demonstrating that there is high need for Nigeria as a supplier of critical minerals, and US want to involve in that. And for US to involve in that, they need to find collaterals that they will treat in Nigeria. And they start with the Christmas package and several other stuff that follow. You can all see it in the body language of the US. And this deep sea mining is another thing. And you all know that Nigeria have little or no interest in deep sea mining because we are not ready to put in the resources in doing that. And also the fishing. The US commercial fishing companies are having interest, a lot of interest in the territorial water of Nigeria. And we don't even have a commercial fishing industry in Nigeria. And if we have, I'm starting to be corrected to name any leading commercial fishing company with major commercial fishing vessels in Nigeria. So what changed is just around business. And The other thing is that it still demonstrates that we are getting better when it comes to our infrastructure, maritime infrastructure or any security arrangement. Nothing have changed. In fact, things are getting worse if you are really following the maritime sector very well. Do you know the reason why the issue between Rotimi Amechi and the current head girl of the presidency, Isabella Usman, when she was the NPA boss? It's all involved the infrastructure and the money thing. And Mimasa too, Jimo, was all involved that there are a lot of corruption involved and a lot of challenges in even maintaining, not even developing or renovating things, like maintaining the existing structure. From Lagos to One and Delta, all of our maritime infrastructure is facing a lot of challenges, and we are facing a lot of congestion. Our turnaround time is not something to take home. So nothing have changed. And in fact, if there is anything have changed, is that there are a lot of money coming into maritime. In the last 1 month, we see the approval of by the presidency over 286 billion naira into the maritime infrastructure and safety and so many other things. And we see a lot of other arrangements, especially. So nothing have changed, and US just have interest in Nigeria.
So from a business perspective, what immediate impact do you think this could have on Nigerian shipping companies and vessel trading internationally?
I think the major impact is all about trust gap. Now the trust gap it gets narrower, a little bit narrow. And the other thing is, for any business, shipping lines or shipping companies to have a very good business, we have to think of efficiency, turnaround time, congestion, cost. We have our cost for our port is not that competitive. So just narrowing the trust gap is not alone in the business. Even the cargo volume. What is the quantity of cargoes do a shipping line comes to Nigeria for? So if you have a lot of exports, a lot of shipping lines would have a lot of interest in Nigeria, and that resulted in a lot of business, not just trust gap. The shipping lines, even with the restriction and advisory restrictions, you always know their ways. It's not going to be a challenge for all of them. They have army of lawyers, compliance experts who are helping them to make sure that they meet up with any restrictions for compliance. The major thing is there even a business in Nigeria? What is the tonnage of our exports? And what is the aiming? And we don't even have to even start discussing our indigenous vessels. They have a lot of challenges. And most of our commercial vessels, the merchant vessels who are indigenous in Nigeria, they are already aging, and there is no any arrangement to make sure that there is any other alternative for them. And even in the recent times, we see the promising by the federal government that they will fund some money for ship owners, and they make promise for in 90 days you even get your the money. But today is almost 7 months. The money is not reaching because there is a facility championed by Nigerian government with NIMASA and other primary lending institutions who are coming together to see how they can fund the indigenous merchant ships with almost $700 million facility. And as we speak, almost 70 companies have applied, and 20 are expected to there are a lot of rumors that almost 20 of them have passed all the scrutiny, and the money is even yet to reach them. So there is no even market. Even we thought like we are expected to build a ship dismantling industry in Delta. Nothing have come off, and with that opportunity I've been used. And other things, if you see, you can go to realize that money will not come, and Nigerian government is not ready to create a model for other companies to copy. Like for example, we can have a national carrier, shipping line, maybe Nigeria Shipping Company, and we model it, and the risk-averse challenges that a lot of Nigerian commercial banks are having with a lot of mid-tier industry outside of capital market, it can be solved. Maybe with having a national line, Nigeria shipping line, or Nigerian shipping company, we can easily recruit best in the industry, start the industry, model it as we do for NNPC. But for business, okay, I think for Nigeria, it's means that we have done better in trying to narrow the trust gap by a lot of other international partners, because you are saying that, okay, now we trust you more, even when we have a lot of insecurity challenges. 12 years ago, when there is this second regime advisory by the US, it's all because we are having local security challenges, which is Boko Haram, it's FA, the Chibok girls, the Abuja attacks. All these things are the reason why the US government says that we are not safer, because of terrorism concern and a lot of piracy, all this. So they put in this second regime security restriction and advisory because of all this as a counter-terrorism measures. So, and at this time, we are not saying that we are getting better. Anybody who say we get better is just trying to say a different thing. But US have interest, and now they are trying to uplift our credential when it comes to trust. And that means if US trusts us, many other countries will trust us more, so that the turnaround time for a lot of shipping lines that were docked in Nigeria, it's going to be not something that they will think a lot before they say, okay, we are picking something and we are stopping in Nigeria because we are going to have a halt in Nigerian port. So, and that may affect some cost. We may see some decrease in the price, the cost of shipment from Nigeria to any other destination in the world, especially going to south, going to west, America and other South American countries or North American countries, and maybe Europe. We may see some decrease, but it won't start just today. It will take time. And from my anticipation, it may be like 2 years before we see the rate at which the cost of shipment will decrease. That means a lot of shipping lines may decide that I'm coming from different ports and I can pick up a Nigerian cargo to Nigeria without any consequences, even when my last destination will be US. So it will be affecting their decision, and that will result in a lot of options for freight forwarders and a lot of shipping companies and agents. It will be a lot of that. And again, our custom procedures, not only just the trust gap, our efficiency and custom procedures are very difficult to manage. Even with the advancement in technology and so many other things, which we have some of these technologies, the custom procedure is making the delay so long. Someone just wanted to dock in Nigerian port for like 1 day or 2 days. It may take him 2 weeks or a week, which is not friendly for a lot of shipping lines, because they are into business and time is of the essence. So for a lot of businesses, the last resort for all this effect should be the customer or the client, the buyer. It may affect a lot of local buyers for the price, as we are struggling with inflation and a lot of other things. We will see a lot of challenges in the next 2 years before we can start seeing some decrease in the cost of shipping things. So the business, the operators, and even the regulators, they have a lot to do. Even the legislators, we have to checkmate our maritime laws to make sure that they sync with all our economic and industrial plan. Because as I told you, a shipping line will not just come to Nigeria for caricature or for just like that. He is coming for business. If he's not dropping more cargoes, that means you have to pick up more cargoes. So if we don't have an export-led strategy, our economy, then all this our investment in maritime will go to what? Because shipping lines will not come, even if we have ships, our indigenous merchant ships, if they don't have business, they are not of the essence.
Right.
So if we have a maritime industry, we are investing in maritime, even with the deep sea mining and other things. If we don't have local economy doing well, our production-led economy is doing well, then we will not have surplus to export to the foreign market or to US. That means shipping companies will not be having a lot of cargoes to pick up from Nigeria to other destinations. They will just bring something to Nigeria, which sometimes is not a business if they are not bringing more. And with a lot of shipping lines, it's very competitive market. So they have to see their options. So while we are getting maritime better, we have to think that maritime is just a means. Because we have inland concern, not just coastal concern. We have challenges with our road. We don't even have a very good rail system that we can rely on. Even when our roads and highways are bad, we don't have a railway system to rely on. So with all this maritime investment, even with the money going to ship owners, it will make sense if our economy is not doing well, our production is not doing well, so we will not be able to export more and more and more.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time on the show.
We are not tailoring the arrangement.
Thank you very much, Musa. It was really insightful speaking to you on this conversation this morning.
Thank you very much, Deborah. And I do hope this is just the beginning of lots more development we anticipate in the maritime sector. And I do hope the intentions US are coming to Nigeria will just checkmate them and get more value out of it as a country.
Right. We've been speaking to Musa Sunusi Ahmed, is a principal trade media company. And still to come after the break, we're going to be looking at CBN holds the line. Can monetary tightening sustain Nigeria's inflation gain? Do stay with us.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Well, this is still the Business Day CEO Forum, the 14th edition, and it's still a very epic moment here at Eco Hotel and Suites, speaking with CEOs, key stakeholders, and business leaders. And now I'm speaking with the CEO of Aga Khan University Hospital, is Mr. Koram Jamal. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I want to start by asking you about some of the key takeaways that you've gotten from this event. I mean, you've been here for a while now, and then you had a presentation. Talk to me about what you think about this year's theme, which is from stability to shared prosperity, and also some of the key takeaways that you might have gotten from some of the sessions which we had here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for Business Day, for inviting the Khan University Hospital to participate in this very fruitful CEOs Forum. A lot of interesting talks and topics have been talked about this today, including energy, finance, banking, issues and challenges that are facing the Nigerian business sector, and what the business community, the government, along with the private sector are planning to do to come together and take the agenda forward. So it has been very interesting. Ours was really to do with the healthcare sector, and what we as an Aga Khan University Hospital, which is a private not-for-profit teaching tertiary hospital, is planning to do in terms of trying to keep the African patients not going abroad outside of the continent, but they can acquire quality healthcare within Africa.
And then when you speak about quality healthcare within Nigeria, I think Africa is really important because every year we see billions of dollars leaving Africa out of the African continent, for medical treatment abroad. And we see also that many of our best healthcare professionals, I'll speak also from the standpoint of being a Nigerian, many of our best healthcare professionals are leaving the country. And I know this also is happening in other African countries. How do we reverse this brain drain that is going on?
Yes, so I spoke about a few things. One is regularly building talent. That's number one. Number two is ensuring that we pay what is right to our physicians. Number three, what is also very important is if we do not provide the right practicing environment for physicians, then they have no other choice but to leave the countries where they're coming from. So for a cardiologist who has spent 12, 13, 14 years training to become a specialist, if he does not have the right environment in which to practice medicine, whether it's to do with outpatient consulting clinic work, or whether it's to do with the cath lab, diagnostic and interventional procedures, or whether it's to do with the recovery that takes place for these patients in the coronary care unit, if those facilities do not exist, then those cardiologists will simply not stay. So those are the challenges that we're currently facing, and that is what we as the private sector and as the government need to come together to ensure that we provide the right environment for our physicians to practice quality medicine.
Right. And I like when you said practicing quality medicine. That also brings me to the issue of trust, because trust happens to be a very recurring theme, especially in the healthcare sector. How do we get to the point where we begin to trust, the healthcare sector, to begin to trust, to make use of, healthcare within the continent?
Right. So another very important factor. Remember, the patients normally just see the physicians, but behind the physicians, you have other different clinical care providers, which includes nurses and allied health professionals. So they work cohesively as a team in providing that quality care to the patients. We at the Aga Khan University Hospital, we were the very first institution in sub-Saharan Africa to accredit ourselves with Joint Commission International. Now, this is an international gold standard quality accreditation for healthcare institutions, where you have more than 200 standards and over 1,200 measurable elements that you are regularly surveyed on, which assesses how good you are when it comes to delivery of quality care to patients. Besides this, we are also College of American Pathologists accredited laboratory. We also have 2 centers of excellence in stroke and heart attacks, which is a CCPC program from Joint Commission International, and the list goes on. So this is our way of showing to the patient that not only do we have the brightest minds in the institution, not only do we have the fantastic infrastructure and equipment, but we also have external quality accreditations with us that demonstrate our commitment to providing quality care.
Right. And you speak a lot about, collaboration within African healthcare. I know you had partnerships also with Kenyan Airways. What does it take to truly create a healthcare system which is, co-creating, collaborating? What does that look like?
So we have tried to, at least in our most recent partnership that we've now done with Kenya Airways, what that means is for the patients that are here in Nigeria, they can have access to quick airline tickets, they can have access to subsidized and discounted airfares, they can even have access to preferred seating arrangement within the aircrafts. They will also have access to stretchers and oxygen cylinders. And once those patients actually land in Nairobi, then our team from the Nairobi side will ensure that the patients are properly picked up from the airport through an ambulance, brought to the hospital immediately, so that continuity of care continues. Those patients may also even come with their own relatives and loved ones. So we have made arrangements for those loved ones to stay nearby the hospital. So we've created possibilities for accommodation. And after the care is done and those patients return back to their home country in Nigeria, the care doesn't stop. our physicians in Nairobi will continue to stay in touch with the primary physicians here in Nigeria through teleconsultations and virtual care, so that we ensure that the care does not stop. So that is a type of a collaboration, and this is just one example that I'm giving you, where how we're trying to make an impact or a positive impact in the lives of Nigerians.
My final question for you, because I know you have to run, will be what you see shared prosperity in healthcare looking like in the next 10 years.
So we need to come together. I think the integrated health systems is the way to go. Once we come together is when the shared prosperity really materializes. And I'll give you an example of the Aachen Health Services, which is working towards creating an integrated health solution between Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, all three of them being in East African nations, where all the 3 or 4 different hospitals that exist as part of the integrated health network and a network of nearly 100 medical centers come together, work together as an hub and spoke model, share the best practices, share technology, share cross-border and cross-functional trainings. These are the types of prosperity and shared practices that we're looking towards.
Right. Thank you very much for spending your time with us and stopping by at our booth today, Mr. Kurum. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back to the Business Morning Live Show, and we're going to be examining engineering, Nigeria's industrial renaissance, turning local talent into economic growth. Nigeria has a large pool of young, talented engineers and technical professionals, yet the country continues to depend heavily on imported machineries, technology, and technical expertise across several industries. The challenge, therefore, is not simply whether Nigeria has the talent, it is whether we have built the right ecosystem to develop that talent, retain it, connect to industry, and turn engineering knowledge into commercially viable products and businesses. As Nigeria pushes for greater local content, stronger manufacturing capacity, and a more diversified economy, engineering has a critical role to play in that industrial transformation. So, what will it take to move from producing engineers to actually building an economy powered by Nigerian engineering, innovation, and industrial capacity? And joining us is Mr. Precious Adeho, is the Managing Director of Emobella Engineering and founder of the Institute of Industrial Development. Good morning, Mr. Precious.
Good morning, and it's good to be in your studio this morning.
Amazing name, by the way. Yeah. I like it when it stands out.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with the big picture now. When we talk about industrial readiness in Nigeria, what role should engineering play in having to drive that transformation?
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm really grateful that this subject matter is being discussed at this time, because Nigeria is a blessed country. We have everything. We have vast land. We have very energetic young people. We have very young people that are driven with wisdom. Because, and why do I say this? You see Nigerians who are not thriving very well academically. When they have the opportunity to actually maybe be in other part of the world, you see them excelling. You can see somebody, I have a friend who graduated with a pass while we were in school, and when he traveled out of the country, doing his masters, you understand, he came out with distinction. And the difference is not far-fetched. It's basically on the environment that we play both persons to play. Like you rightly know, there's a scientific discovery that said if you take a shark and put it inside a little box, that shark will not grow beyond the length of that very box. But if you take the shark and put it on the sea, it's going to its full potential.
Yeah.
In the same way, that is the challenge we have. So we have young people who are very skilled, who are very talented, you understand. But there is no enabling environment, you understand. And why do I say this, you understand?
I'm a product of, I went to the technical college, so I started from a craft trainee, from craft trainee to a technical operator, technical mechanical technician, before I became an engineer and I left the company I was working with at that time. I actually started my career from Nigeria. So everything I know today is actually trained towards that very area. It's a 1-year training, in a sense. And I really think we need to go back to the status quo, you understand. We can do very well if we go back and begin to look at our educational system. How do we design the curriculum? You see things that that are, I won't call it old-fashioned, so it won't be as if you are demarketing our country, but we need to go back. And I say this, the Nigerian University Commission, in line with Nigeria Society of Engineers and Council for Engineering Regulation in Nigeria, have a big role to play. And I'm really grateful to some of the few stuff that was taken during the Cohen Assembly this year. You understand? So let's look at how those who study law and they practice. So they go to school, finish their 4 years, then they go to Nigeria Law School. And so when you see this, so you can see they have a niche for themselves. You understand? So when they come out of school and they go to law school, they go to a lot of places and learn, and so they become very sad. We need beyond that in the area of engineering, because no country can actually transform if the engineering sector is not properly positioned. Look at all the countries in the world, the US, the UK, Canada, Europe, and the rest of it. The thing that is thriving because you have a very vibrant young force of young engineers who are very creative, who are doing disruptive thinking. So you see a machine in design today, in the next 3-4 years, you see another machine is coming up. In the case of our country, it's not that way. So we must go back to status quo. The chunk of the engineers that we pull out of school every year before they go for NYC, how deep are they? Engineering transformation has gone beyond what we do right now in our school. With all due respect to our Nigerian university, sometimes when we have some coppers who study engineering coming to do the full 1 year experience in our office, when you ask them questions, you weep. So where
is the disconnect?
So the disconnect is first and foremost, it starts from how do we breed our engineers from our school?
Okay.
I don't know whether you've been to any of our school in a polytechnic or university. We do not even have the infrastructure. So the government has a lot of role to play in this time. The lecturers have a lot of role to play. If you go abroad, I have privilege to have been to quite a lot of training in Royal Academy of Engineering in the UK, in Imperial College in London, been to BISA Compressor, Crest Academy. So do we even have the infrastructure to train our people?
Right.
Do we have that? So the answer is no. We can't begin to use old-fashioned way in competing with a globalized world where things are changing fast. I'm the president engineer for about 20-something years right now. Every blessed day, the things I see when I go to some production line, like when I go to factories, Coca-Cola and rest of it, you see things changing fast. And we see train our young people with the same way. This is training me in 2004. We need to have a shift. We must go back. In fact, we need to go to our schools and pick those stuff we put in our engineering lab and throw them away. We need to invest in training infrastructure. So there's a lot of role to play, you understand? And I really, because we have very smart young people. Nigerians are super talented. Look at what we are doing abroad now. In anywhere you find, you can't talk of the best guys outside the computer calling 1, 2, 3 Nigerians. Right. So the thing is, infrastructure based, you understand? We have the people, so we need to tweak the disconnect, you understand? Having the right system to train people, looking at modern day curriculum of training engineers. We can't advance as a country if we see go back to the way. So there's a lot to do, you understand? Good enough, the government is trying, universities are trying, but we need to do a lot.
Right, I was going to bring it to the government because, the government has continue to emphasize on the need for local content and also import, substitution. But at the end of the day, there is that disconnect. So what policies do you think can actually help the Nigerian engineers, the manufacturers, to start assembling things locally instead of we just importing?
Okay, so if you look at what is happening, there's one area we've gotten it a bit right. Okay. You understand? Because if you look at the Nigeria Content Monitoring Development Board, you understand, which is the SMB that plays very well in the oil and gas. To a large extent, you understand, they've gotten some of the policy right. So one of the things I've seen they've done in that very area, first of all, putting out policy that say, you know what, if you want to operate these facilities, there must be a way whereby Nigerians have to understand what you're doing. Right. You understand? And because the oil and gas is very critical and the risk level is very high, you understand? So you see that from that very area, you understand, the government have done quite a lot of things. Kudos to the government in that very area. Okay. Now, but the policies that have been put in place is the area of training to ensure that when they import some equipment to actually use to run our oil and gas, you understand, our people must be well trained to be able to run those facilities when the time to hand over those stuff is being done. But the disconnect right now is that what we are doing right now, we're just doing repairing, servicing, operating. We must go to the place of how we Nigerians begin to build this equipment. That's where we need to go to right now. That policy is, but if you look at it very well, that policy is only working right now in the area of the oil and gas. I think as well too, this local content need to be shifted as well to the food and beverage, to the manufacturing sector, to the mining. We must have content like that can actually help to drive this area. Because if we have that, it becomes even, so you can see that the oil and gas is highly regulated. That area is risky. So that's one area. The government need to equally on their own. The government are trying. I understand very well it's not easy to actually transform things. So the government need to equally come up with policy right now. How do we now begin to make Nigerian engineers to be able to now see that, okay, look, with our ACs, we never do assembly here. How do we go to the place right now? It's okay. Nigerians need to begin to, build, design, and ensure that they begin to manufacture this equipment. That is where we need to have a handshake. Okay, we might not have all the facilities. How do we now have relationship with companies? It's not just importing these things. Giving a level playing ground for companies to now begin to have assembly base in Nigeria. Like what we used to have when I was in school in IMT in Enugu. We know in Alamco in Enugu, they assemble cars. These are no more, so we must begin to go back and look at, it is not just doing the operation. Our guys are doing extremely well in that very area, but we must begin to not put in policies and enable the environment to bring in foreigners, you understand, to be able to, come around and so we begin to set up assembly plant where they will design this whole stuff. That's the way to go.
But do you think, it can realistically reduce Nigeria's dependence on import?
So it will help. Okay. Because, like the apprentice way of doing things, you understand? So let me call it a modernized apprentice way, where you have, so when people begin to, see this thing being done, we do not have those technology here, you understand? So, but if we have that level playing ground where most of these big companies, I do not see why we just need to begin to, import this big equipment. Yes, we don't have the technology, but as we are importing, there are plans. I know from now till like 2050, 2030, 80, there are plans the government have in developing other different sectors, the oil and gas sector, the manufacturing. As we are developing those plans, let's put some of this model into it, creating that backward integration for our people to be able to learn from these guys, and begin to sit down, make it compulsory that Nigerian engineers must begin to do what? Design, build, manufacture, and those things that are built here have to be tested. So, but there's a lot of things to be done. I can tell you today, quite a lot of things, and I believe the government on their, but government have a lot of role in bringing about the transformation.
So let's talk about the issue of funding. how can Nigerian engineers, move from just having good ideas? Like you said, we have amazing engineers who have good ideas, but they don't have the technical expertise. How can they get funding to be able to, build scalable businesses that can move from, the ideas they had in 1998 to, the way the globalized countries are moving when it comes to engineering?
So funding is a big issue. So I run an engineering company today, and by God's help, we're 11 years now, and kudos to many of the funding we've got. We've got some funding as well too from, and many thanks to the government, because we got the UWIN grants in 2015, which actually helped us to take off. We've got also other few grants, but it goes beyond just grants.
Yeah.
So the first thing first, are we investor ready? Let's assume it's okay, we're looking for funding. Do we even have the right data to actually know those who actually you can give fund to? You know how it works like in the US, you understand? First and foremost, you must have a high credit score rating for you to be able to access some funding. Do we have those in place? So there should be a deliberate way to say, okay, how do we create an ecosystem where we can look at young people who have bright ideas, but, you understand, they have that challenge in how to access funding, you understand, to actually do one or two projects. You understand? How do we even know if I give this man 5, 10, 50, 20 million to actually, upskill that very idea that him or her had, he or she will not use that money, to go and do something else. You understand? So there should be that deliberate stuff. This thing go back to the role of government. Everything we know the place of individual. So the government must put that platform. How do we know the man? Because it should be set criteria. I know some of them are equally there. When you want to access funding from the bank will ask on few like, can we have your bank statement? They want to know how money is coming into the business, how money is going out. They equally want to know if you borrow money before. If you borrow money before, have you been able to pay? You understand? So the funding is there. There are quite a lot of funding that is out there today. But how do we know people that if we give funding to? How do we assess? Do they even have the right knowledge? Our business right now, we say we are trying to scale, and we are trying to. So one of the things I did last year was to say, okay, let's get a consulting firm to say, okay, we have not borrowed before, but now we want to borrow. Let's get a consulting firm to now do what we call investor readiness. As a company, are we ready? What is the investor looking at for us? So we try to set up, that corporate governance structure that will make to ensure that, okay, do you have the right board? Do you have the right documentation? Do you have the right policies that will drive this business here and there? This is because I have some experience. The man that is just starting newly does not even have that knowledge. So there are quite a lot of athletic programs where young people can actually find them to be ready. It is one thing to get funding, it's not it to be ready. So that we don't put money in the wrong place and just to do a joke, give man money right now. The man says, this babe, I'll be looking, let me go and do something in her head, you understand? So this is very critical. Now, the funding is there, but there's a lot of things the individual need to do on their own, you understand? Because people don't fund idea. People fund innovative solution that can actually transform country. Nobody wants to put money just because you have a bright idea. It's a difference between a bright idea and an idea that can solve problem. So what I've known in my 11 years of doing business is that people want to fund ideas that can actually transform our country. That is the reason why we'll be able to access some of the funding we've accessed. We've accessed quite a lot of them.
Right, amazing. So speak to us about the 3 engineering capabilities that we must develop in order to meet up with the global client when it comes to, the industrial economy.
The first era is the era of heavily on design thinking.
Okay.
So when I hear quite a lot of young people say, oh, I have an idea. The idea is not built for yourself. An idea that looks quite okay for you is not what the customer needs. So we must heavily push our people, you understand, our young people, to understand the place of design thinking. So when they are doing any idea they are bringing, they must look at the people who that idea is going to solve problem for. Because an idea can be bright, like, you see that, oh man, this thing is bad, this thing is bad. But when you now look at how will that idea begin to transform into creating value, and that value can solve problem. Because when problem is being solved, money is attracted. So one key area we need to actually, coach our people is the area of design thinking, to be able to look at how to design product and solution and services and engineering equipment that can actually help to actually solve real-time problem. The other area is the core of the technical area of either a male or a female. I am a mechanical engineer. We focus heavily on the area we build storage tank, we do gas pipeline, you understand, and we calibrate process instruments. So the area of the core of the technical area of that area we want to. So we must work on our people, whether mechanical, whether electrical, whether chemical, whether electronics, whether automation. We must go back to the deep area of the technical area. Our people must be able to compete with any other young people around the world. And that is where the place of our school comes in. That is where the place where the Nigerian Center of Engineer plays a lot of role. That is where the Council for Engineering Regulation play a lot of role in the South. Our people must be well deep. They must be technically grounded in the South. So they should know the basic, they should know the intermediate, they should know the advanced. That is the only way we can actually do that. And the third area I think we can actually really make that work is giving our people financial literacy in the South. There's how to make money, there's how to manage money, there's how to multiply money. So these three areas cannot be overemphasized. First and foremost, looking at the area of deep design thinking. Second area is to understand the core of every area where they're going to play, whether mechanical. Or the next one is how to manage money, how to make money, how to manage money, and how to build. These three areas are quite deep for us to really transfer.
Very deep indeed. Now I'm going to give you an open floor. If you were given the mandate to, redesign Nigeria's engineering and also the industrial development strategy today, what would be the first three things that you would change?
Okay, so the first thing first is to, with all due respect to quite a lot of people that do lecturing. From the few things which I see around the world, quite a lot of people that you see, you understand, in quite a lot of people that you see in the engineering, in the universities, you understand, are quite a lot of people who have practice in the industry, you understand. But sometimes you see that some of our lecturers, they don't work in the industry. And so it is different between theory, you understand. The reason why I can do what I'm doing today is because I work almost about 12 years, you understand. So I have hands-on experience, like I said. I think as a craft trainee. So I was in training school for 1 year. I understand the basics. And when I left there, I came in as a technical operator, you understand. And from there, I became a mechanical technician. I understand how tools work. I know how to diagnose, I know how to do troubleshooting and the rest of it. Then when I became an engineer, you know, and that's why I'm even very happy that I worked and I school full time. When I was working, I was schooling full time. You know, so I was balancing both areas. You know, now, if I want to work in any university, I am not more speaking theory. I am saying this is how a pump works. These are all the component parts of a pump. I have touched this, I've touched this, you understand? So we need to redesign that area, you understand? Saying, you know what, we do not have a problem, so we can have young people can do the theory to start at the first year, you understand? As we begin to go into second year, third year, you understand? Then we need to bring those who have industrial experience to come into the folk, you understand? And see how this thing works. There is a way an engineering manager who has spent about 30 years in the industry, when him or her is lecturing, it is different. It's not doing theory. It is doing tell me, show me. So in that very area, we need to bring industrial experts, those who have the engineering expert, to come into the, you see our engineering managers, they resign, they don't go into lecturing. They go into starting business. So the government have a role to play. How do we get, all these engineers who have experience to come into lecturing? Because They must transfer their knowledge to the young coming. So that's what I would do. First of all, redesign the stuff, bring industrial experts into the and put in policies, sir. With all due respect, when you see what's of our lecturer being paid, yes, sir. So what it is right now, what I think I say is, when you try to get a job you can't get, just like, let me just try and get one small lecturing. Family must eat now. It shouldn't be that. It should be a way of actually trying to say, okay, this set of people are working. We have the database now. Go and have the database of those who are engineering managers, who are project managers, who are out there in the sun. Can we not bring them into our lecturing system and see how, as they are going to retire, you bring it to later. That's what big companies abroad, that's what they do. A lot of that big engineers who have done very well, they bring them to training school. Even some big company today in Nigeria, they bring their engineering manager when they're like five years to lead the system. They bring them to the training school. Come on, we need to transfer those knowledge of which you have. So it is very evident that we need to look at that area, bring it there. Policies that will drive those areas. It's not just coming to because, an engineering manager in one of the big multinational, if it's coming to be lecturing, you can't come and pay him or her.
Yeah.
So we need to look at those areas. The government have a role to play. Individuals will have a role to play as well too. We must, and that's the reason why you see I started the Institute of Industrial Development in the sun. When the Japa syndrome was heavy, I see that as people are Japa, there's a skill gap deficiency. It's okay. Let us start something that can actually help beef up that very area. So what we do at this social development is actually train young people of what the industry need. The industry need the YDS, but it's a way between the YDS and solving problem. When the pop break that, we don't do the YDS.
You solve it.
Yes, we solve it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Precious. It was really good having you.
Thank you so much.
This was I told you you're going to enjoy yourself.
Sure.
This was a very interesting session. And of course, we'll be speaking to Precious Adeho, who is the Managing Director of MO Bella Engineering and also the founder of the Institute of Industrial Development. And that's been our focus today on the Business Money Live conversations. The Business Money Live continues after this break with the social listening. Just stay with us. If it's sparking conversations, then we're bringing it to your seat. Welcome to the Social Listening segment, where we bring you the stories, debate, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Deborah Eze. And now let's get into what's making waves online. And for the first conversation today, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced a cash gift of 20 million naira each for the overall best graduating students of Lagos State University for the 2024-2025 and 2025-2026 academic session. The governor made the announcement on Wednesday at the university's 29th and 30th combined convocation ceremonies held at the LASU main campus, Ojo. According to a statement shared on X by Sanwo-Olu's new media aide, Jubril Gawat, the beneficiaries are Ailara Olawale, the best graduating student for the 2024 and 2025 session, and Adebanjo Olu Olamide, who emerged as the best graduating students of the 2025-2026 session. Now let's see some of the reactions, and if there's a video, let's take a look at the video.
Ailara Lawal Olaleye and Adebanjo Samuel Olumide Olamide. Each one of you will earn, this is my last convocation as well, 20 million naira each.
All right, let's take a look at some of the reaction. The first reaction from Mega Reigns, and he said, now, this is empowerment. I don't care if he's doing that for the next term. All I know is that it's an empowerment. Another reaction from Lasbon, and he said, wow, that's good news for us to hear. Hope they all receive their money because these politicians and audio money now 5 and 6. Another reaction from Farmer Joel, and he said, "This is nice. Well done, Mr. Governor. Such will once again inspire our people to read and value education." Another reaction from Ismail, and he said, "This is a commendable gesture. Rewarding academic excellence like this will motivate more students to aim higher. 20 million naira each is a life-changing reward," and I cannot agree less. This is actually a life-changing reward, and this kind of gesture would indeed push people to want to go to school and read, because there is this perception for a long while that, you know, school is scam. When you go to school, what then is the need for you? You come out and then you start patrolling the whole of Lagos State looking for a job so you can actually survive. Well, things like this, move like this, is what would, you know, enable people to want to go to school, would also encourage them to have to read, because they know at the end of the day there is a reward. This is actually very, very massive, and, you know, there is no buts to this. But then again, at the end of the day, does it just stop here? After the 20 million naira, what next? So, still basking on the happiness of this reward, I must really say it is really a good one, and really truly this is what we call empowerment. 20 million naira now in this economy would really do a lot for the people who decide to go to school and decide to face their books and decide to come out as the best graduation student. All right, on the second conversation today, armed police and soldiers on Wednesday blocked retired military personnel from converging in front of the Ministry of Defense in Abuja, where the ex-servicemen had gathered to protest the non-implementation of consequential adjustment to their pensions. The protesters had attempted to move towards the front of the military as part of their planned demonstration, but more security personnel were mobilized to prevent them from assembling at the location. The development followed an earlier confrontation between serving soldiers and the retired military personnel after security operatives attempted to stop the ex-servicemen from staging their protest in front of the ministry. Let's take a look at the video.
No. You cannot stop me. You cannot. We are not blocking road. We are doing the protest. We are working for you people. We are working for we can't demand in our country. Today is a good day to die. Today is a good day to die. Please, wait. What are all those soldiers? Today.
Let's take a look at how netizens are reacting to this story. And the first reaction, we have Zubi intact and said it's a circle and it has to go round. Those ones wearing berets now think they're on top of the world, same to those protesters years back. You guys will all learn in a hard way as you retire and become bloody civilians. Another reaction from Name is Blank, and he said, God Almighty, they spend billions to rig elections but can't pay pennies to ex-servicemen who defended the country with their lives. What a country. Another reaction from Modupe Peter, and said, this is exactly one of the reasons we no longer have competent, dedicated men in our security agencies. Imagine serving our jail loyally for 30 to 35 years, risking your life at the front line, only to retire and be treated like this, denied the pension adjustment you are entitled. Another reaction from Basito, the cycle continues. When you're in service, you shield the politicians against our citizens. When you retire, you join other citizens to cry. The cycle continues. The black man needs to be more reasonable. This is really sad. The fact that people who served the country with their lives for 30 to 40 years have to come out with placards, with banners, to protest on, not having their pension revised. It is really, 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 really sad. And at the end of the day, the Minister of Defense have said they will look into it. As of this morning, we had that on the front page of the Business Day newspaper. It is going to be looked into, and we really hope that their pension can be revised back to the revised and implement the consequential adjustment to their pension. It is really, really sad. And at the end of the day, the guys on Barrett, they're doing their jobs. They're doing what they were asked to do. So we can't entirely blame them. And I'm speaking based on the reaction that we got from netizens concerning this conversation, this story. So we just have to keep our fingers crossed and see that. Try and be rest assured that the Ministry of Defense is working on it as they have promised. Hopefully we don't get to see this kind of pictures or protest of ex-servicemen who are supposed to be enjoying their retirement age. We're not going to see them come out to placards and having to explain or protest as to the things that they deserve, things that they earn. Yeah, so let's move to the final conversation today, where supporters of the March and March movement gathered outside the Cape Town Regional Court on Wednesday, August 19th, to insist that beauty queen Chidinma Adesina leave the country. The march held as the court prepared to deliver judgment in Chidinma Adesina legal battle over our immigration status in South Africa. The protesters sang and chanted outside the court, with some calling for Adesina to leave South Africa. As Chidinma arrived at the court venue and was immediately swarmed by reporters and protesters, she had to run into the court to evade them. Let's take a look at the video. All right, let's see how netizens are reacting to this story. Of course, the first reaction from Global Trend headquarters, and Iyoshi said, South Africa protesters really treated Chidinma Adesina winning the pageant like an illegal border crossing violation. Crowds out there staging full marches over a crown is wild, and I agree. Another reaction from Gabriel Chukwu, and he said, I'll continue to say this, our leaders should make this country unbeatable. If this country is unbeatable, just tell me what we have here that will make our people scatter all over the earth looking for greener pastures. Let's fix our home. Another reaction from Godfrey, and he said, Chidinma, what are you doing there? You can practically live anywhere you want in the world. What are you trying to prove? Or what are you trying to prove? Yes, there is the fact of emotional attachment, but I guarantee you, after some years, you ask yourself what made you stay there that long. Oh, it's just easy to say than to do it. We have Henry Ife Chukwu, and he said, why is this Chidinma disgracing herself? For her safety and self-respect, make she leave that nonsense country. With her small popularity, she can easily relocate to a better country if she doesn't like Nigeria. And I'll say this is actually, a sad one, because the purpose of pageantry, beauty pageantry, is to, bring diplomatic relations, to actually bring culture together. But this is actually bringing diplomatic drama. And although it's no news as to what is happening in South Africa, we understand that there is a whole go back to your country situation. But this is actually really, 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 really sad. And I think this tension, we should just wrap it up. We should wrap it up because, over the years, the tension has just been going on and on and on and on and on, and then creating bad headline for the two countries. And it's easier to say, oh, Chidinma should just pack up and come back to the country or go back somewhere else where she would be appreciated. But there is something called emotional attachment, and emotional attachment is actually very deep. It's deeper than what people actually think it is. And I think that is why this whole fight is going on. And it is really sad, but really telling somebody to leave simply because of where they come from or the fact that they won a pageantry is, for me, it sounds very immature. It sounds very immature is the word, because I don't see why you won't have to come back to a country where she originally came from, and she's also, you know, a as a nationality in South Africa. Well, the case is still in court. Hopefully, you know, it brings an end to this madness, because it is madness, in my opinion. I don't see why you would leave what you're doing and come and stand outside a courthouse chanting for a beauty queen to leave your country because she won a beauty pageantry in another country. It is really, really sad. We can do better. We can do, South Africans, we can actually do better. Because what's the point of the whole diplomatic relations when we're having protests and arguing over issues that are, you know, very immature? All right, that's a wrap on the conversation making waves across social media in Nigeria today. Thank you for watching Social Listening. I am Deborah Eze, and of course, we'll come your way again tomorrow for the Friday edition of the Business Morning Live. Make sure to tune in by 8 a.m. to have yourself a beautiful morning.